Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world right now. I'm going to be sharing some video with you that I found last night. But first, the video I'm going to be sharing with you is so this is a video I found last night for the first time about sacred geometry. Fix this. It pretty much blew my mind. But before I do that, there was an earthquake off of Seattle a few hours ago. If you're in that area, do you know anything about that? I tried to find some news on it just before I came on, but I couldn't find anything about a tsunami hitting the West Coast. What's his name? There's a video that was put out recently by, what's his name? Mr. MBB 333, whatever it is. Let's see if I can find it. So, does anybody have any news on that? Hi, Sherry. He said that there was a tsunami buoy off of Seattle that showed an 80-foot rise. So that would be a pretty big tsunami if that was true. But I think it should have already hit land by now if it was going to, and I haven't seen anything in the news on it. So, okay, and before I get to this video about sacred geometry, I want to share another one with you. By the way, I can't monetize this video today because I'm going to be sharing other people's content and wouldn't be right, one, and I could get in trouble for two. So if you'd like to support me on this channel, you can send super chats or super thank yous, or you can visit my Buy Me a Coffee to show your support for me. I'd appreciate it. Okay, so let me share my screen. I have these videos over on my Telegram channel if you want to check them out. Before I get to the sacred geometry video, I want to share something from DNA Upgrade. This is what channel is this? This is a great channel. If you've never seen it before, I recommend it. DNA Awakening. And I found this video a few days ago. It came out just a few days ago. And it's talking about how there's an upgrade or a download coming through Sirius. Here, let me just play this video for you.
As Earth approaches the period between now and early August, an extraordinary cosmic event unfolds, one that has profound implications for the planet and its inhabitants. The world is poised to enter the annual Sirian Stargate, a phenomenon that occurs when Earth's sun aligns with Sirius, the brightest star in the night sky. This celestial alignment is not merely an astronomical occurrence, but a spiritual and energetic event of immense significance. During this time, massive higher dimensional energies are said to stream into the world, bringing with them potential for transformation and enlightenment. These energies are believed by some to be of a vibrational frequency beyond the typical three-dimensional experience of everyday life. Sirius, often referred to as the Dog Star, due to its prominence in the constellation Canis Major, holds a special place in both scientific and metaphysical understanding. Astronomers recognize it as a binary star system, with Sirius A being the star visible to the naked eye. What makes Sirius particularly remarkable is its luminosity. which is more than 20 times greater than that of Earth's sun. This intense brightness is not just a physical characteristic, but is seen by many spiritual traditions as a reflection of its role as an expression of the infinite light of all within the Milky Way galaxy. The Sirian Stargate will open during the first week of July each year, when Sirius comes into conjunction with the Sun from Earth's perspective. This alignment is believed to create a cosmic gateway, allowing for an influx of high-frequency energies and information. Many who follow esoteric and spiritual practices see this annual event as a time of great potential for personal and collective growth, healing, and awakening. The timing of this celestial event is often viewed as significant in itself. Proponents of this belief system argue that it occurs in perfect synchronicity with the needs of Earth and its inhabitants, aligning seamlessly with what they perceive as the divine plan. This plan is understood as the overarching blueprint for the evolution of consciousness and the unfolding of creation itself. During this period, many individuals report experiencing heightened intuition, increased synchronicities, and a deeper connection to their higher selves and the cosmos. Some describe vivid dreams, sudden insights, or a sense of expanded awareness. Others engage in specific meditations or rituals designed to harness and integrate the incoming energies. The energy streaming from Sirius have empowering properties for those who are receptive to it. Adherents of this concept suggest that as individuals allow themselves to be open to these energies, they may experience a lifting of consciousness. This elevation brings one into resonance with their oversoul structure and monadic structure, terms used in some spiritual systems to describe higher aspects of one's spiritual being or consciousness beyond the everyday personality. Proponents of this belief system consider the current time to be particularly potent for spiritual advancement and healing. They suggest that individuals may find themselves stepping into a new, more elevated identity as they stabilize their consciousness at higher vibrational frequencies. This process is thought to facilitate a deeper remembering or realization of one's true nature and purpose, potentially leading to profound shifts in self-expression and life direction. In various mystical traditions, Sirius is associated with the concept of freedom and liberation. This association adds another layer of significance to the star's perceived influence, as it is believed to support individuals in breaking free from limiting beliefs, patterns, or circumstances. Devotees of these spiritual practices view the current period as a cosmic gateway or initiation. They believe that during this time, high-frequency cosmic codes are being transmitted, perfectly aligned with what they describe as universal and multi-universal ascension programs. These codes are thought to contain information or energetic patterns that can catalyze spiritual growth and evolution on both individual and collective levels. As the energy of transformation sweeps through the cosmic tapestry, it carries with it the power to liberate souls from their self-imposed constraints, guiding them towards the expansive embrace of their authentic essence. This divine force, pulsating with the rhythm of the universe, acts as a celestial key, unlocking the gates that have long confined the spirit within the illusion of limitation. As individuals begin to integrate and embody their divine self, a multidimensional aspect of their being that encompasses all they have ever been and are continually becoming, they step into a sacred partnership with the vastness of creation. This union of the finite and the infinite empowers them to reclaim their spiritual sovereignty, allowing them to shape their reality with unprecedented clarity and purpose. In this state of divine co-creation, they become master alchemists, transmuting the base metals of ordinary existence into the gold of enlightened living. The concept of ascension reveals itself as the ultimate unity, a sacred marriage between the individual consciousness and the totality of all that is. This state of perfect alignment transcends the boundaries of the ego, allowing the soul to dance in harmony with the cosmic symphony. As one contemplates this profound truth, a startling realization dawns. The act of manifestation is nothing less than the externalization of one's own divine essence. In creating their reality, individuals are, in essence, bringing forth the myriad facets of their own multidimensional being. A great awakening is sweeping through the collective consciousness, igniting a fierce determination within souls to honor their deepest truths and desires, no longer content to defer their dreams or silence the call of their hearts. These awakened beings are shedding the shackles of self-doubt and unworthiness, They are rising, phoenix-like, from the ashes of outdated beliefs and one-sided relationships, claiming their rightful abundance in all its forms. As this spiritual revolution unfolds, individuals are beginning to resonate with the profound truth of their inherent worthiness and the unwavering support of the universe. They stand on the precipice of a new era, poised to experience the manifestation of this cosmic support in a glorious outpouring of abundance. The time has come for these awakened souls to step fully into their power, embracing the limitless potential that has always resided within them, waiting to be recognized and unleashed upon the world. The great evolution of consciousness in the human species and on Earth continues, and there is an abundance of remarkable progress to report. Dr. Ilara Vanderbilt, a renowned quantum physicist and consciousness researcher, has been meticulously documenting these changes over the past decade. Her findings, published in the prestigious Journal of Transpersonal Psychology, have sent shockwaves through both scientific and spiritual communities. Expanded higher dimensional frequencies are now active within human beings and emanating from Earth's planetary field. These frequencies, which Dr. Vanderbilt has measured using advanced quantum resonance detectors, are attuning individuals to higher levels within their wholeness, as they allow this resonance to permeate their being. The process is ongoing and accelerating, with each passing day bringing new developments and insights. Professor Takashi Yamamoto, a leading expert in noetic sciences at the Tokyo Institute of Advanced Studies, has corroborated Dr. Vanderbilt's findings. His team has observed that vibrational frequencies never before experienced by humans in this domain of expression are now becoming the norm. These frequencies, which were once thought to be purely theoretical, are now being integrated and synthesized within the human energy field. The implications of these changes are profound and far-reaching. Dr. Maria Gonzalez, a neurobiologist at the University of Barcelona, has been studying the effects of these new frequencies on human brain activity. Her research suggests that these higher vibrations are activating dormant areas of the brain, leading to enhanced cognitive abilities, increased empathy, and a greater sense of interconnectedness with all life. Spiritual leaders and mystics from various traditions have also taken note of these shifts. Geshe Lobsang Tenzing, a respected Tibetan Buddhist teacher, describes the current state of human consciousness as a blossoming lotus of awareness, unfurling its petals to reveal the inherent Buddha nature within all beings. Similarly, indigenous elders from different cultures around the world have reported an awakening of ancient wisdom and a resurgence of connection to the earth and cosmos. Maria Red Feather, an elder of the Lakota Nation, speaks of a great remembering taking place among her people and beyond. The global impact of this consciousness evolution is becoming increasingly evident in various spheres of human activity. There has been a marked increase in grassroots movements focused on environmental stewardship, social justice, and sustainable living. Innovators and entrepreneurs are developing technologies that work in harmony with nature rather than against it. Dr. Vanderbilt and her colleagues assert that this up-leveling of human consciousness is not just a fleeting phenomenon, but a fundamental shift in the trajectory of human evolution. They believe that humanity is on the cusp of a new era, one characterized by heightened awareness, compassion, and a deep understanding of the interconnectedness of all life. In this state of heightened awareness, individuals are encouraged to explore the depths of their being, asking themselves profound questions that resonate with their core essence. What truly calls to them in this moment? What deep-seated desires lie dormant, waiting to be awakened and expressed? These inquiries serve as catalysts, igniting the spark of self-discovery and propelling one towards their authentic path. Central to this spiritual awakening is the recognition of an ascending energy current within. This ethereal force can be described as a rising, lifting, and buoyant energy, a cosmic elevator of sorts, carrying one's consciousness to higher planes of existence. It is the embodiment of all that one is, the totality of their multidimensional self, now flowing through their physical form with unprecedented intensity. This ascending current has become the dominant feature of one's energetic makeup, inviting individuals to attune themselves to its frequency. By doing so, they tap into a wellspring of inspiration, creativity, and spiritual insight. The key to accessing this transformative energy lies in cultivating a state of soft awareness, gently noticing what sparks excitement and interest in the present moment. As one becomes more attuned to this inner current, they are naturally guided towards choices and actions that align with their truest expression. This alignment brings about a sense of passionate flow, where one's thoughts, emotions, and actions harmonize in perfect synchronicity with their higher purpose. The journey of spiritual ascension also involves a process of energetic purification. As individuals integrate and synthesize higher frequency light into their being, they naturally begin to shed old, limiting beliefs and patterns that no longer serve their highest good. These outdated constructs, often imposed by societal conditioning or false self-perceptions, are gradually cleared away, creating space for the emergence of one's authentic self. The ascending current is one's inner light, the light of all that one is. This luminous energy flows through an individual, illuminating their path and translating into a spectrum of positive emotions. It manifests as feelings of joy, fun, and enthusiasm, as well as excitement, curiosity, and passion. These emotions serve as a conduit, helping one to reconnect with their true essence and center themselves within this radiant flow. This process represents the natural evolution towards becoming the authentic, clear, and radiant version of oneself. It is a journey of self-discovery and transformation, where one's innermost light guides them towards their highest potential. This light is not merely a metaphorical concept, but a tangible force that can be felt and experienced on multiple levels of consciousness. By following one's own inner flow of ever-expanding light, this rising, uplifting energy current, and translating it into inspired action, an individual can profoundly transform their physical experience. This transformation is not just an internal shift, but a holistic change that affects every aspect of one's life, from relationships to career choices to overall well-being. The embodiment and integration of this light occur at a significantly deeper level when one allows themselves to be led by it and activates it through lived experience. This means bringing the energy into expression through conscious choices, new ways of being, creative endeavors, authentic communication, and purposeful actions. The more fully one brings this energy into their physical embodiment, allowing it to flow into their expression and manifest in the material world, the more rapidly they will discover their abundant, expanded flow of their true self. This journey represents conscious evolution, reaching unprecedented heights. It is a state of being in which one confidently and naturally embraces their sovereign authority to choose their focus, claim their identity, and set their own standards. In this elevated state, individuals become acutely aware of what they are energetically and vibrationally available for, and they experience the immediate effects of these choices. As we conclude this exploration of spiritual awakening and manifestation, remember that you are a divine being on an incredible journey of self-discovery. The universe is calling you to embrace your true power and step into the fullness of who you really are. But this journey doesn't end here. If you're ready to dive deeper into these transformative teachings and unlock your full potential, I invite you to join our growing community of light workers. Here's how you can stay connected and continue.
Yeah, I'm gonna end this here now. So, yeah, I felt, oh, and real quick, Colleen, I thought maybe you were the Colleen I know from a Telegram group, but welcome. And so I saw this video a few days ago, and like last week, I was feeling really heavy, like a heavy weight was on me. I wouldn't say it was a depression, just a heaviness and kind of a sorrow and a lack of motivation. And I've come to recognize that when this happens, and through talking to Honey, uh, it's like I recognize this now. Honey's told me that this is when I'm integrating a shadow self. So I think I'm starting to recognize now when that's happening, and it's happening more often. And then afterwards, I get this like leveling up feeling. And with this conjunction with Sirius, in the most recent like 48 hours, I just felt this like I said, it's like feels like a leveling up, a higher intuition, and this is what led me to the video that I'm going to share with you today about sacred geometry. And so let me start by saying a long time ago, like 25, 30 years, I heard about this mathematical problem called circling the square. No, that's my dyslexia. Squaring the circle. Um, and it's a really complex mathematical problem, and it's never been solved. It's this idea of rectifying the shape of the circle with the shape of the square. And I think this is what's going on with Terrence Howard, how he talks about how he's taking these square blocks of the elemental chart and he's giving them curvature. He's showing how they curve into each other, and that there are no straight lines in nature, which isn't actually true. There are some straight lines in nature if you think about it. I'll get to that in a minute. But I'm not going to talk anymore. I'm going to play this. Okay, let me back up. So last night I thought to myself, I need to search for squaring the circle and see what I can find. And that's what led me to this video that I'm going to share with you right now. Okay, and it comes from this gentleman. I believe his name is Jane. Okay, pause it for a second. This is his channel, Gene 108 Academy. I believe this is his channel, and you'll see that this video, the mystical squaring of the circle, is 4 years old. So it's not that old, and it's only got 19,000 views, which is a shame. So if I can get him any more views on this, that would be great. But we're going to watch this together. And this is going to be there's going to be a lot of heavy math in this. I might like fast forward during some of the parts where he's just doing numbers and stuff. So this might get a little bit boring for some of you out there. But let's soldier through, and it's only a little under 10 minutes. But then I have another one after this one that's much longer. And let's take a listen together. Get your notebook out, take notes if you can, and I hope you enjoy this.
Pi, which we have established as 3.144, that which is critical in understanding the true value of pi, which we have established as 3.144, is an understanding of something called the mystical squaring of the circle. In olden days, it was called the mystical quadrature, because what we're interested in is drawing a square. So we'll call it the unit square, which is 1 by 1. So I'm going to give that a value. We'll call that distance of the square, called the unit square, is 1. And we know that the perimeter of that square must be 4, because we're going to talk about this later on. So we know that the perimeter of this square is 4. So in ancient times, they had two types of squaring of the circle. One was based on the square area. We could look at the square area, but what we're concerned with today is actually the perimeters of the square and the circumference of the circle. And that's got another name as distinguished from the squaring of the circle. We're calling it the rectification of the circle. So when we say rectification, we're talking about making equal perimeters. So I'm going to draw in this circle now. So this has an interesting mathematics to it. Just notice that this circle comes in on the corners, not just like that. So that's equal perimeter of a square is equal to the circumference.
Okay, are you not seeing the video? All right. Um, so- all right, let me fix it. Hmm. Oh, my dog's going nuts. Hey, stop it. All right, guys, give me a chance here to fix this. And please let me know.
Circumference. So that means if this square is 1 by 1 by 1 by 1, that's 4. That string is 4.
Okay, I'm going to try this again. Hey, stop. Oh, just a minute, guys.
As long as that's what.
I've got to put my dog out. She's driving me nuts. All right, my dog out. Can you see my screen now? All right, got the video up. Back it up a little bit.
Equal perimeters. So I'm going to draw in this circle now. So this has an interesting mathematics to it. Just notice that this circle comes in on the corners, not just like that. So that's equal perimeter of a square is equal to the circumference. So that means if this square is 1 by 1 by 1 by 1, that's 4, that string is 4 meters long if that's 1 meter. So if I picked up this string of 4 meters and I said, what's the corresponding circle that is also 4 meters? Well, this is the answer. And we want to know what the radius is or the diameter of that. It's more than 1. We know that from here to there is 1. Oh no, from the square to there is 1, but we don't know that whole distance. So let's give them values. We'll call it A, B, C, D is the square. A, B, C, D is the square. But the circle that protrudes, we're going to call that G, H, and the points on the square here, A, B, C, D, we'll call this E, F, and the center is also called the origin. So that's called the origin. So now we've got our grid. We know that it's the unit square. Today's lesson is we want to calculate, we want to know the distance of the diameter of that big circle now. To in a general way, to how to square a circle is, let's say we have a square. Okay, we might just use the white here. So I'm going to...
By the way, when I looked up squaring the circle in modern day, um, uh, science, math, they say it's still unsolved. And this gentleman is saying that he has solved it. So it hasn't reached mainstream, which I wouldn't expect it to because this is sacred geometry.
Draw a square, and this square that's the A, B, C, D that we showed before. So A, B, C, D. I'm going to cut it in half. So we've bisected the square. We do another half, because half of a half is a quarter, but half of a quarter is an eighth. So by just taking all these midpoints like that, we've created a grid, an 8 by 8 grid that has 64 mini squares or little cells, 88 cells. So that's an 8 by 8 grid. So you visualize that we pick this up and put it there. So A, B, C, D is really 64 little cells. The relationship to square the circle is that when the circle is equal in perimeter to the square, there's actually another square going around this. There's another square going around it, and that square happens to be 9 by 9. So the ratio of 8 to 9, so 8 ninths, is the key, the geometric key that unlocks the mystery of the squaring of the circle, is having a square that's an 8 by 8 like your chessboard, and the circle will touch the 9 by 9, and that ratio 8 to 9 is of deep significance, high significance in all mathematical inquiry. Okay, so we're halfway there. So we need to do a little bit of calculation, and because I've only got this short segment in 10 minutes, what I'd like to show you is that if I wanted to know the radius of this, I can do some mathematics to calculate the distance from G, I wrote it in pink. So to go from G to H, we know that G to H must be more than 1, it's greater than 1. That symbol is called greater than. And after a little bit of calculation, which we don't have the time to do now, it's established that the diameter of this larger circle now is, let's write this down. So we'll say that EF, the square, EF to there, which is in the square, equals 1 unit. But GH, the extrapolated length of the square, is a bit more than 1, and it's called 1.272. And 1.272 is called the square root of the golden ratio. And what this means is what number multiplied by itself will give us 1.618033988. It goes on. So that's called phi, but we're interested in the square root of phi. So the distance from there to there, that which makes the bells ring, that which makes this like a highly tuned instrument of the highest order, that which makes heaven and earth equal, because the square represents the earth plane and the circle is the spirit, the divine. So by making them equal, when we rectify the circle, equal perimeters, the key is the new diameter, which is 1.272, and it's got a name, and this is my name for it that everyone's using now. I love this name. It's called the golden root. Just like you have a golden rectangle, golden triangle, I'm defining this diameter as the golden root 1.272, which, as we discussed previously, is the vertical height of the pyramid in Giza. The vertical height in relation to half its base, 1 unit. Okay, so we just explained that we rectified the circle. We made the perimeter of this, we made the perimeter of the square equal to the circle. So what's the perimeter of the square? It's 1, 2, 3, 4. It doesn't matter whether it's 1 unit, 1 meter, 1 mile. So now we know that 4 is equal to the perimeter of the circle, which we call the circumference. So the perimeter of any circle has a formula called pi times the diameter. We don't know what pi is. We've assumed pi for 2,500 years as an approximation to 3.141. That's the thing. We thought pi is approximation is 3.141. They always, Archimedes even said that's an approximation. Now we're going to fine tune this this musical instrument, this geometrical masterpiece. So we're equating the 4 equals pi times d. That's the circumference. C equals pi d. but we know the diameter, GH. We know that GH is the golden root of root phi. So our equation becomes 4 equals pi times the square root of phi. But we want to know what pi is. This whole inquiry, what is the true value of pi? We want to establish that pi equals something. So because we have over here, we have here 4, the perimeter of the square equals pi times root phi. If I divide both sides by 4, what I've got pi here, so I'm going to put pi here, and to get pi on its own, I have to divide this side and that side by the golden root. So the answer is pi equals 4 divided by the square root of phi. So if you divided 4 by 1.272, we get this amazing timeless ancient value called 3.144, which contains the harmonics of the speed of light, 144. This is such a brilliant and simple revelation that I feel it really needs to be taught, and actually taught to children at the high school level. This is a connection between heaven and earth, where we find that everything has its perfect proportion.
Oh, finished. Okay. So, okay, I'm going to have to look up Amelia Ortez, their State of Bliss. Now, this other one is going to get much more in depth. And listen, if this isn't your cup of tea, everybody, I don't blame you. But I am this will be available on replay for people who want to come back and watch it. Those who are interested in this, if it's getting too late for you now, you can come back later. All right, so let me see. I have to exit this. Okay, now this one is about 35 minutes, I think. A little over 38 minutes. So I hope you enjoy this. There's some really amazing stuff in this video. I didn't watch it all last night. It was late and I started getting really bleary-eyed. And this is why I decided I have to share this, and I thought we'd watch it together. So hope you guys enjoy this. I hope we all learn something from it. My intuition tells me that this is extremely important stuff, and I think this is coming on the heels, or actually it preceded Terrence Howard, as far as I know. I only just heard about Terrence Howard and his new theories. I kind of wonder if he got some of it from this. So I'm going to stop talking and just listen to you guys. And but I have to say one other thing is, because I don't know that the math is all correct. There's a certain amount of this that you have to take on faith. Um, but I feel like my intuition tells me that we can trust this guy. He's not your typical mathematician who is towing the cabal line, right? But like this 144,000 being equal to the speed of light, I'd have to look this up further. But anyways, let's just take it at face value for now and enjoy what we can
Very
learn.
special series of what I call special numbers, anointed harmonic numbers. And this has been a journey for me over the last 4 decades, 40 years. I've been putting together information on sacred geometry. And as I work with my notes and files, I put them into special folders like number 10, 11, 9, constants like the Euler constant. So I have a collection of these folders which would fill up this whole wall. It's basically a dictionary of harmonic numbers, and I'm very excited to be extracting from that some of the most important things that I'm working on. And sometimes these folders, they start bursting, and I think, oh, the number 108 is a very important number. So we've already done whole books on 108. But today I want to introduce a series on the harmonic number 430.
Or are you saying, oh, you're saying you're getting an echo? Okay, I can fix that.
So 432 hertz.
Um, Sherry, State of Bliss, thank you very much for that. I really appreciate it.
Hertz is the Pythagorean tuning from ancient times, and it got mixed up today with the equal temperament called 440. And we're going to be talking about this harmonic number 432 and how we had to detune for A as 440 hertz down to 432. That's a detuning process, and why we're doing it is a fundamental understanding of sacred geometry. But to understand that, I need to begin with the number 144, because 144 is intimately paired with the harmonics of 432. So straight away you can see that 144 times 3 is 432. And the reason why 432 is sacred is because when we square that number, 432 squared, if you get your calculator, it's 186,624 miles per second, which means 432 is connected to the sun code, the light harmonic. But we're going to begin with 144, and you'll see the stepping stones of how they're all connected. So I'll just put these down over here. And I'd like to start off with showing you what I have here is I live in a beautiful rainforest property. This is going to be my pointer, by the way, so we can point at individual notes. But when we walk the land in ancient times, they carried these dowsing rods, and you can see that one's moving now. And when one's starting to move like that, without me even forcing anything, it means we're in a vortex. But when you're dowsing on the land, they're parallel. When they cross, that means there's water underneath. Whoa! So these are really special. These are tuned, highly tuned instruments. So I'm going to be using one of these just to begin with. So you can see here that we have a circle. We have a full circle, which is based on 360 degrees. But 360 is broken up into 10 compartments. And the reason why I'm doing 10 lots of 36 is because 36 is the beginning of a harmonic series. It's 6 squared. But when we take our protractor here, so for me to construct this decagon, there's my circle here, there's the center, and you can see here that I can turn this around. There's 0.
Let's see what happens if I mute, where'd it go? If I mute,
So I've marked every 36, 72 all the way around. So the protractor is the symbol of the unity of the circle. So let's just learn this sequence, because this is critical to understanding what I'm going to say. If we keep doubling 36, we go to 72, 108, 144, 180, 216, 252, 288, which is double 144, 324, and then back to 360. So this full circle is about what we call unity consciousness. So what I'm going to do is this number 144 is so encoded with high level information that I'm just going to go through each one separately. So let's start off with the sunflower. When we look at a sunflower, we know that when we study a sunflower, we have 31 spirals, 21 spirals going one way and 34 the other way, and that ratio, 21 to 34, is called the golden ratio. So the golden ratio is critical to all this work. Now what's happened is that they found some sunflowers, giant sunflowers in Russia, where they had 89 spirals going one way and then the other way 144. So this number 144 is based on the living mathematics of nature. We call that gematria. Gematria is the Greek word for geometry. So if we could turn language into numerics, we end up with certain frequencies. So the frequency for light, the gematria for light would be 144. Now we can take this 144 and put it on what's called a Pythagorean triangle. So we all know the 3, 4, 5 triangle, 3, 4, 5. Now we can multiply each side of that triangle by 36. We see how we're talking. We started off with 36 degrees. But when we increase the Pythagorean triangle, we get some more sacred numbers. So I'll just show it to you here. So 3 squared is 9, plus 4 squared is 16. We could pick up these 9 and 16 tiles, which makes 25, and it happens to be the hypotenuse. And this is the second most important mathematical code in the universe besides the golden ratio. So we call it the Pythagorean right angle triangle because it only works if there's a 90 degree. It has been discovered by Sumerians and the Indian cultures, but I just want you to take a mental photograph of this because without this we can't crack the codes of the universe. So what I'm going to do is we multiply 3 by 36, we get 108, and the 4 by 36 we get 144. And then by Pythagoras' theorem, 108 squared, the square on that side plus the square on that side gives us the square on that. So it works out that that's 108, 144, and 180. And this is really important because this is this is a clue to what they call the Earth grid. When Bruce Cathy did his work on harmonics of the ley lines, he gave us the ley lines around the planet. This was the key signature code that allowed us to see where the symmetry was, where sacred sites and temples were built. Now what's interesting is that when we add up when we convert the circle, the 360 degrees, because 180, double that is 360, we get a 360 triangle as well. If we multiply that 360 by 60 minutes, we end up with 2,160 minutes. So 2,160, we drop the 0 and we get harmonic 216, which is over here. So 216 is 6 cubed. So this is all cubic information because the cube stores the memory. And also, if we looked at the number of hours, if we converted the number of hours in 144 hours, how many minutes are there? We have to multiply that by 60. So 144 times 60 gives 10,080 minutes. And in harmonics, we're allowed to drop the zeros. So the 10,080 minutes is 108. And 108 is is this angle over here, 108 degree. And the reason why we love the 108 degrees is because when we examine the internal geometry of the pentagon, the 5-pointed star, you can see here that the internal, the angle here between two sides is 108. It's 54 and 54. But what's interesting is that if we go from the center, we know that the inner angles here at the center would be 5 into 360 is 72 degrees. So when we look at 72 degrees and double it, we get this shaded bit here. So inside the pentagon we have the 144 degree angle. Now the reason why that's important is because 144, according to Bruce Cathy, is the number of minutes of arc per grid second. So 144,000 minutes of arc per grid second is the established speed of light. And we're allowed to drop the 3 zeros. So 144,000 speed of light is harmonic 144. So you can see that the pentagon is the shape of everything in the universe. It's the shape of every protein in our body, and it's fractal because the pentagon keeps reducing at 0.618, 0.618, 0.618 forever. It's an infinitely geometric series that cascades from the atom to the galaxy, and that's why I've put the sun there. So the 5-pointed star contains the coding of 144. So I thought that's important to mention that. And also there was a character called Penrose Tiles, Professor Penrose, who was a physicist like Einstein, and he solved a problem where they said that you can't tile a surface with pentagons because you can take like triangles and squares and they tile the plane, there's no gaps. But he decided to cut this pentagon into that, see the shape that I've shaded here? That's the 144 degree angle. So he took that shape, which is like a diamond, and he was able to map the plane. And from that, he discovered quasi-metals. This led to new theories in whole atomic structure because of that 144 degree angle. So if you study Penrose tiles, this rhomboid or rhombi, it's called aperiodic tiling, but it's the key to the future sciences. And I love it when great thinkers, they contradict the established science, because we're using the keys to sacred geometry to look for the truth, the eternal truth. Another interesting thing is that when we look at magic cubes, so I'll just show you a magic square first.
I just want to pipe in real quick and see how do I that rhombo. He said rhomboid, that diamond shaped triangle. That's actually the shape of the crystals in your pineal gland. They're rhombohedron. I just wanted to throw that in there. And let me see, I need to stop sharing for a second because I need to do this. Okay, sorry. I don't want to keep interrupting, but that and the other thing I want to show you. Sorry for doing this. Um, where's my camera? Uh, you see, this is the dodecahedron, and you notice it's got the pentagon in the center, and this is the shape that this is the platonic solid for Earth. So I just wanted to point that out too. I'm getting all these connections as I listen to this.
So if we look at a magic square, we know that all the columns and the rows of this 4x4 add up to the same number, 34, 34 diagonals, the four center numbers, the corners. But in space, we can take this 4x4 and make it 4 times 4 times 4, which is called 4 cubed. And in space, this would all add up to 1, 2, 3. But if we decided to do the 6x6, so if I took a 6x6 square, then gave it depth, I would have 6 times 6 times 6, which is 216. Again, that's one of the angles of the decagon, 216. So what would all the columns and rows add up to? So if this was a 6x6, the columns, the rows, the ranks, and the files, even the 6 going this way and that way and that way and this way, they all add up to 651. So we call that a constant. So the magic square constant is 651, but how many different ways can we make it add up to 651? The answer is, mathematicians worked out, there's 144 ways that we can make the magic cube of 6x6. So here's a cube. This is a 3x3, but for 6x6, there's 144 options. Now, that's kind of a bit of data, and it may not mean anything now, but these are the keys to perhaps future researchers. By giving this information, we're letting others know that these numbers ring a bell, that 144 is the key. And then you look for more information, like in the Bible. Here we have the New Jerusalem. So in the New Jerusalem, they gave very specific instructions how King Solomon was going to build his temple. And just in a nutshell, without going into all the details, it was all based on 144 cubits. And then you need to know how much is a cubit and how long was this side here. So this cube of New Jerusalem almost filled up the whole earth. It was like a celestial city, but in a cubic form, and it was built out of crystals. And the length here was 12,000 furlongs. And we've forgotten how much a furlong is, but one furlong is about 1,500 miles. So if this is 12,000 furlongs, this cube is almost surrounding the earth. So this was a celestial city in our Bible 2,000 years ago in St. John's, and it was all based on the number 144. So fundamentally, the basis of 144 hertz, it forms a harmonic series. So if we start with 144 hertz, we call n is 1. That's the fundamental there. That's the vibrating string. But if we go n equals 2, we double 144, we get 288, which is the second harmonic. And then the third harmonic, we have 3 nodes, it's 432, because 3 lots of 144 gives us 432 hertz. And then you can see here, you keep adding 144, you get 576 for the 4th harmonic, 5th and 6th, and we get up to 864, which relates to the diameter of the sun, 864,000 miles. So these are frequencies that are imbued with the light harmonics. And the reason why we're talking about 432 following this is that the equal temperament system has been debatable, because we believe that a lot of the famous musicians like Jimi Hendrix, John Lennon, Prince, all these rock musicians that we know, they tuned their instruments to 432 because it's based on triple 144. But this equal temperament system where they designed A is 400, the note A was 440 hertz. We decided to bring it down to 432 because 432 is triple 144, and that's the ancient Pythagorean note for D. So when we bring 440 hertz down to 432, we're in resonance with the universe. So that's a really important debate that's going on in the world of music and the universal concert pitch that they talk about. Another interesting thing about 144 is that my mentor, Bruce Cathy, but also Buckminster Fuller, said that the fundamental form was the tetrahedron, is that this is the most stable form. And what's interesting is that he divided this shape into 24. So if we keep dividing at midpoints and through the center, and we keep subdividing this, we end up with 24 parts. He called it quanta. So these quanta are the 24 little prisms that are inside this that you can't see. And what's important is that this shape here, the rhombic dodeca, has 144 of these small tetrahedral quanta. So this shape here, called the rhombic dodeca, has 12 diamonds, but inside of that it has 144 components. Now this is the atomic structure of what we call garnet crystal. I have some garnet here. So when we look at garnet crystal, this is the rough form of garnet crystal, which you can just see some diamonds, but when you polish it up, you can start seeing some really distinct diamond forms. So this is crystalline geometry expressing itself in the 144, and where this shape comes from is that this rhombic dodeca of 12 diamonds is what exists inside the cube octa. So this is the vector equilibrium that Bucky talked about, and it's all based on 12 radials. It's harmonically balanced. It's the most balanced shape in the universe. So this is what apophyllite crystal looks like. Apophyllite has triangles and squares. So it's interesting that as we talk about shapes and numbers, we are coming back all the time to harmonic numbers like 144. And it's interesting that when we look at the Indian knowledge of the Vedic way of time, they called time kala. So the word for time was called kala. Now that's in the Sanskrit word, and our word for calculate, when we say I want to calculate, the beginning of calculate is kal. So kal comes from the word for time, but the Indians, they expressed one kala as 144 seconds. So this is really interesting that 5,000 years ago, the priests from this ancient continent were talking about time must have 144 seconds or minute parts to it. And how they derived that, we're not sure, but that's interesting research. So basically what I'm doing is I'm just putting all this together. So let's go to another culture. Let's look at the flower of life. This is in every culture. What you're seeing here is the seed of life, where the radius is unchanged and it walks around the circumference 6 times. Remember, 36 degrees is 6 squared. We're coming back to the number 6. Now, if we were to call this a 3-frequency flower of life, let's look at the flower of life, because this is the number 1 shape in the mass consciousness. The whole world is wearing this jewelry, and what you're really looking at is a cube. We're going back to the fundamental cube, the New Jerusalem, magic cubes. This is a lot of information about crystalline structures and cube. So if we were to count all these parts, let's have a look at it. I'll pick this one up here. Here's the typical flower of life, which is done as a coaster from Indonesia. These are bamboo where they've threaded it. But I just find these really beautiful. So you can see the 6, and there's another 12 and 18. But if you were to count all the petals, these things that I'm touching, there's 90 petals. But in between the petals is these curved triangles. We'll call it the negative space. If you counted all the curved triangles, there's 54. So in terms of components or parts, the flower of life has 90 petals and 54. The sum of 90 and 54 is 144. So I find that amazing, because this is the #1 geometry in the world today. And I'm embarrassed to show you a very old one that I've had for about 20 years, about 40 years when I went to Bali. But this one here, if you count the edges, is 1, 2, 3. That's 3 frequency. But if you count these edges here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is a 5 frequency flower of life. It's very old, but we adore it because it's in the golden ratio. If you examine all the circular geometry, it's in the 0.618 ratio, so it means it's the mathematics of beauty. But I just love how that the 3 frequency one rings that bell of 144 again. So I've put that there to show you. We can take this number 144. So if I had my calculator here and I said 1 divided by 144, that means we're going from the macro large right down into the microcosm. And when we express the micro value, the reciprocal of 144 is 0.0069444. So Bruce Cathy, who gave us the ley lines, he said we're allowed to move the decimal points on. We're going to drop the zero, so now we've got 69444. He rounded. You could round it off to 695 because he wrote a book called Harmonics 695. But if we move this decimal up to here and call it 6.94, the reason why that number is important is because Tesla, our hero Tesla, he built an antenna. He built the first. He built a car with an antenna that was 6.94 feet. So 6.94 is the harmonic of light, because there's 144,000 minutes of arc per grid second, and the speed of light is 144,000 nautical miles per second. Now, so Tesla knew these fundamental harmonics of 144 because he built an aerial that was precisely 6.94 feet, and if it wasn't precise that, it wouldn't operate. So he could run free energy. He had the first free energy car, but as you know, a lot of his work got shut down. He invented radio, TV, lasers, the remote on the TV, and X-rays. He invented so much stuff, but he was a great mathematician, and he knew the reciprocal of light has a lot to do with what we call gravity. Because light is one thing, but when you take the reciprocal, we're looking at the opposite of light. It's called the matter constant. So this is another whole deep area of inquiry. So I just wanted to mention that. So far we've covered half this information, so there's still more to come. What I really love about the number 144 is that there is this thing called gematria. Now gematria we've got the Greek language, and we've also got the ancient Semitic. If we look at the Greek name for God, it's called Deos, Theos. So that means like A is 1, B is 2, C is 3. But in the Greek, the TH is the value 9, the E was a 5, the O had a value of 70, and the S was 60. So if you added up the name for God in the ancient Greek, it was 144. Now this is all questionable because we're not using the ancient Greek system, but just letting you know that the ancient people had an alphanumeric. Alphanumeric means letters become numbers, left brain joins with right brain. We don't have an alphanumeric system. The Sanskrit language does, where A is 1, B is 2. But if we go back into ancient Judea, and before the time of Christ, we had the Semites, and the name for Abraham came from Abram, and in India that was Brahma. So the name for Brahma, the god of creation, in the Semitic language, ancient Babylon, was Abram. Again, if you added it up in their language, it was 1 plus 2 plus 100 plus 1 plus 4, and it was 144. I think one of them should have been a 40, sorry, the 40. The M is 40 there. So this is a subject called gematria. As I said, it means geometry. So another interesting thing, these ancient cultures all worked with things called magic squares. Now, my work from 40 years ago was always working with the most simplest forms of magic squares. So to look at a magic square, here's a magic square of 3 by 3. So this pattern here comes from these 9 numbers. So by knowing those 9 numbers, and I start from 1, 2, 3, 4 in order, there's a certain pathway. If I follow this pathway, but instead of starting from 1, I start from 44 and I go 1, 2, 3, 4. If I draw this magic square starting from 44, I go 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52. If I add up all those columns now, the 3 columns add up to 144, the 3 rows and the 2 diagonals, it rings a harmonic bell of 144. Now the reason why and I can make any magic square, what I'm good at is that, because I've studied this for a long time, if you were obsessed about the number 432 or 1008, whatever, I could make any magic square add up to that desired number. But if you add up all those numbers from 44 plus 45 all the way to 52, all those 9 numbers add up to 432. So numerically I found a connection, which is the beginning of our inquiry, is what's the connection between 144 and 432? Well, here's a magic square that does that. So that could become a future circuit. We don't know. That might have musical power in some way. And as you can see here, the reason why I drew a decagon, see this circle? We did this big circle and we divided it into 10. But can you see that this angle here, the 10 angles are all 144 degrees? I forgot to tell you that. This is probably... that was the beginning point of constructing this information, was let's create a 10-pointed star. So here's a 10-pointed star. So it looks like a so this 10-pointed star looks like a slice of a pizza. If you pulled that 1/10 slice out, we end up with a golden triangle, and that golden triangle, so this golden triangle is 72 and 72, that's 144 degrees, but this golden triangle is in the golden ratio and it creates the 144 degree angle. Part 3, I just wanted to recap that in part 2 we were looking at the importance of the decagon, but when it's made as a star it's called a decagram. The reason why we divided the circle into 10 parts is that when we have external angles of 144 degrees, which is what all these angles are of the decagon, it allows this slice, this 1/10 slice here, which is shown over here, this 144 degree angle, which is this one here, allows the golden ratio to appear, because if this is 1, this is 1.618. This could not happen if we did not have the 144 degree angles. So that's a really important realization. So if you're going to build a temple or a balcony, you would want to build a 10-sided foundation, because all these 10 slices, these pizza-like slices, are in the golden ratio. Now, perhaps the most important thing about the 144 is that 144 is intimately connected to the code called 369. 369, there's an infinite code that Tesla said, to understand the keys to the universe, we need to understand 369. So I'm going to show you how, when we add up all these, I'm going to show you how I derived 369 here, but all this inner ring of 369 adds up to 144. So how did I do that? We divide the circle into 24. So this is called the wheel of 24. So you can look at this ring, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way. As I get to 9, instead of putting 10, I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I start at 1. So I'm just using the digits 1 to 9, but there's 24 digits. And then as I go to the next number, 25, I jump the ring. I go 25, which is a 7, 20, 25, 26 is an 8. So I keep going from 1 to 9 in the second ring, and then I jump to the third ring here, which is over here, and you just keep going 1 to 9. So really, I've got the numbers from 1 to 3 lots of 24, 72. 72 is that angle of the golden triangle. 72 is the 36, 72. So it's interesting, we've got 72 numbers. Now something, if I kept doing this, all this information here is going to repeat every 3 rings. Every time I just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 in order, these 3 rings will keep repeating. So we need to add up all these digits. If I add up, what you can see here, these are the solfeggio scales. So if I look at every triplet, it goes 1, 7, 4, then it goes 2, 8, 5, 3, 9, 6. Now those combinations keep repeating all the way around. So if I was to add up 1 plus 7 plus 4, that adds up to 12, that adds up to 15, and that adds up to 18. So all the way around it adds up to 12, 15, 18, 12, 15, 18, 12, 15, 18. That sum of 2-digit numbers, 12 plus 15 plus 18, is 45. But because it's 3 goes into 24 8 times, 3 8s are 24, so 45 lots of 8 gives us 360. So the sum of all these numbers here is the 360, which is the harmonics of the circle, which is what we started off. We divided the 360 here into to 10 to give us the 144. So here everything adds up to the natural sequence of counting numbers from 1 to infinity. When we look at them in rings of 3, they all add up to 360. Now we add up each one of these. So once we add up each one of these solfeggio triplets, 1 plus 7 plus 4, as you know, is 12, but we added up, it's a 3. 2 plus 8 plus 5, we worked out was 15, adds up to 6. And then the 396 adds up to 18, which is a 9. Now see that information, 369, it keeps repeating. So as we keep adding every triplet or solfeggio triplet, it goes 369, 369, 369. So 369, 3 plus 6 plus 9 is 18, and there's 8 lots of these sections. So 8 lots of 18 is 144. So I really love this. This is the wheel of 24. This is all the natural sequence of counting numbers expressing itself in a trinity, yet when we reduce it through continued subtraction of 9, called digital roots, digital compression, or digit sums, we essentially are coming back to the 369 code. So this is what Tesla was telling us, to look at what repeats, because repeatability gives us access to understanding the infinite nature of things. What I'm also interested too is I'm looking at, when we look at DNA's got a lot to do with the hexagon joining the pentagon, and the symbolic numerical nature of pentahexa, which is DNA, is 6 and 5. But if we square both numbers, we've got 6 squared and 5 squared. If we divide one into the other, if I divide 25 into 36, what number do you think you'd get? So we get 1.44 exactly. So this thing between 2 squared numbers, 36 and 25, which is essentially DNA molecule, pentahexa, rings that bell at 1.44. But harmonic maths means I can move the decimal to the right as much as I want. So 1.44 is harmonic 144. And just playing with the number 144, this is just called number theory. If you take 12 squared, we know 12 squared is 144. But if I decide to reverse this is called cosmic mirroring. If I reverse everything that you see there, let's reverse 144 is 441. But 441 is actually 21 squared, which is the 12 mirrored. So 12 reversed is 21. So I love collecting information where they're called palindromic. Palindrome is a Greek word means run backwards. So when we reverse things, we find that there's a connection between 144 and 12 squared, 21 squared. There's a lot of this information, but I just wanted to put that down. There's some beautiful shapes also that we're talking about 144 degrees here. In 3 dimensions, is there a shape where the external planes of a certain shape, I'll pick one up here. So we have this shape here. This is a magnetic toy, but this shape here is made up of 30 diamonds. But the angle between 2 planes, so that angle, there's that plane going that way, a plane going that way. The angle between them is called a dihedral angle, because di means 2. So the dihedral angle of this Earth grid shape is 144. So this has always been one of my favorite shapes. So it's called the rhombic triacontahedron, and it's formed from the icosahedron. We could do a whole lesson just on that, but 144 is critically involved with this grid angle. We know that in ancient India, I've got a foot here that's winged. Most of you know the winged foot is the symbol of Mercury, or the Hermes, the messenger of the gods. So we're talking about flight. Now what's important is that the element of Mercury, which is related to Hermes, or the god Mercury, it has a specific gravity of 14.4. So 14.4 means, if we slide the decimal, it's related to 144. And when you study the ancient cosmology, they talk about Vimana craft. The Vimana were the spacecrafts, and when they found some certain crafts that had crashed and they did the reverse engineering, they found that the propulsion system that could allow a craft to go at the speed of light was based on Mercury propulsion, and we know that Mercury has that specific gravity of 14.4. So this was interesting connection. Whether or not we believe in crafts that fly at the speed of light and ancient Indian UFO crafts, that's up to you. But again, in that culture in ancient India, when someone reached enlightenment, they looked at the crown, and they would say that the crown chakra had 144,000 petals, which means they were in the realm of light, or higher consciousness. What's important too is when we look at the Fibonacci sequence, which is pretty much involved with the pentagon having the 108 degree angle on the out here, but internally there's the 144. We know that the 12th Fibonacci number is 144. It's the only number in the whole sequence that is a square of itself. So if we go 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, 55, 89, the 12th number is 144. So that's really interesting. Like I said, it's the only number that does that. So what that means is that when we divide 144 by the golden ratio, so 144 divided by 1.618 gives us 89. That's the sunflower. And then if we divide 89 again by 1.618, we get 55. These are all the Fibonacci numbers. Keep dividing every Fibonacci number by 1.618, you get 34, 21. So I really love that. And just to conclude, I can talk all day on this, but I just want to conclude on one more thing, that there was this Bactrian coin, 120 in the year 120 BC, there was this amazing king called King Azes. Now King Azes, before the birth of Christ, they had some coins, and I'm going to point to it here, it's very small, but see this rectangle here, on this coin, which had cryptic writing around it, was a rectangle. Now here's that rectangle. I've blown up the rectangle, and it's 3 gold Pythagorean triangles. So let's look at the Pythagorean triangle again. So I'm going to take this 3, 4, 5 triangle and multiply each side by 3, then 4, then 5. So imagine 3 similar right angled triangles, and so here's the first one here. So this right angled triangle is got its sides of 9, 12 and 15. So I've multiplied this right angled triangle here by 3, so that gives 12, 9, 12 and 15. Add those numbers up, it's 36. Then the next one adds up to 48, and the next golden right angle triangle having sides 15, 20 and 25 adds up to 60. So when we add up all these sides, we got 36 plus 48 plus 60 gave us the sum of 144. So the reason why this rectangle, it's a 3 by 4 rectangle, the 3 by 4 rectangle has a lot to do with the priests. The ancient Jewish priests at the time of Christ wore these breastplates based on the 3 to 4 ratio, because the 3 to 4 ratio gave us the 12 compartments. 3 4s are 12, and they put certain crystals on their heart chakra, which means that only a priest of the highest order and integrity could wear the breastplate, because if you could not tell a lie. This was a lie detector, so only the priest could wear this sacred knowledge. And I just wanted to say that it's quite amazing that when we analyze the mathematics of the Jewish breastplate and worn on the heart chakra, that it was a highly mathematical system. Even when you multiply 36, 48 and 60, they add up to 103,680, which is 4 lots of the time it takes for our sun to go around another greater sun, which is a 25,920 year cycle. So all this information was about the high level of astronomy. So we just wanted to give tribute to our all cultures who've shared and held this knowledge, and to the value of libraries and researchers and the mathematicians of today who can share their wisdom and keep alive the magical tributes of 144, which has got to do with the speed of light. Hope you enjoyed this series, and there's more to come.
Oh, I was muted. Uh, and I was just saying, isn't it interesting that it appears he lives out in a jungle somewhere. He mentioned Indonesia, Bali, and so I just thought that was really cool. Um, I know there's a lot of boring numbers and stuff in there, but really amazing stuff. And I wish I was a mathematician, I could understand it all. But I'm going to end this video now, but before I do, I want to make a quick commentary. Um, how you always hear people say, and it's mostly true, that there are no straight lines in nature, right? Terrence Howard. I remember learning this from the guy who found the Etosha back when I lived in Florida. I used to do a lot of scuba diving off the Treasure Coast, and I was always taught to look for straight lines because that could be a possible shipwreck. Uh, but if you think about it, and these are the platonic solids that I have here, and these are all straight lines. How these all have straight lines in them, right? And it was Plato who postulated that in the astral plane, or in the higher realm of heavenly beings, that everything was made up of the platonic solids. And and what do these remind you of when you look at things like this, or especially this one, hectahedron, eight-sided one? What does that remind you of? Diamond? Crystal? Crystals. Crystals have straight lines, right? So I just wanted to put that out there. And I want to thank everybody who managed to make it through this entire video tonight. If you're watching this in replay, thank you very much. Thank you especially to A State of Bliss, Sherry, over there in what is it? Write it down. Port Stanley, Ontario. Um, if anybody lives out there near her, you should reach out, say hello. She's kind of isolated out there by herself in this small town. All right, and yes, and thank you very much, Sherry, State of Bliss, for your uh, super chat. And as I've said at the beginning of this, I cannot and will not monetize this video because I'm spotlighting other people's work. So if you would like to support me, you could send your donations to Buy Me a Coffee in the chat, or you can do a super sticker or a super thank you if you're watching this in replay. All right. Well, thanks everybody. I hope this inspires you to learn more about sacred geometry. And I'm going to end this broadcast now. Thank you for everybody who managed to watch during the live. And and if you're watching in replay, I appreciate that as well. But now it's time for me to say good night, everybody. Oh, Honey's going to be joining me Sunday night for our usual Q&A and conversation. So, good night, everybody. Thank you very much for being here. Good night, Cherie.